Welcome to In Our Mom's Basement Video Game Podcast, where we talk about everything video games with your host, Dan Giofue and Rage Quit Pat.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of In Our Mom's Basement, episode 49. And yes, it is 2020, and this is the first episode of a new year. Super excited. I am Dan Joffrey, joined with Rage Quit Pat and a special guest, No Show Barbosa. What is happening, guys?
What's going on, man? Thank you for the invite.
It's good to be back. We have to correct your name. Your name is not Dan Giofrey. It is Dan the Pizza Man. And now I think this is episode 49. I've introduced you as Dan the Pizza Man several times. So I think now that is your new introduction.
All right, Dan the Pizza Man. I'll try that for next time.
All right.
Before we jump into the topics, we do got quite a bit to talk about. You know, some delays, some PlayStation stuff, Xbox stuff, all that good stuff. Before we jump into that, though, of course, I got to tell you where to find us. You can find us on pretty much any social media platform out there: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at In Our Mom's Basement, any podcast platform, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, Google Music, at In Our Mom's Basement, and of course our website at inourmomsbasement.com. And before we jump in, Pat and I haven't actually officially got to say this yet, but we are now sponsored with Black Ink Games, and super excited. I know Pat's excited. Hey, Pat.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a really cool tournament coming up in March as well, so we are very excited as well, and that is sponsored by Black Ink Games as well, so definitely very excited about that.
Yeah, of course. And if you guys do decide to check them out, they're blackinkgames.com, our promotion code BASEMENT for 15% off. So yeah, that's awesome. So now we can jump into the topics. Man, delays, man. This year started off with delays like crazy. It's only the first month, and what, already got 5 delays? What's going on?
Well, So you know what? I'm going to look at this as a good thing. I'm going to let Alex as well speak. But I think I'm looking at this as a good thing. As much as I want to play Cyberpunk, you know, I think let's take a look back here. You know, of course, Star Wars Battlefront is at the top of game. Actually, no. Yeah, Battlefront 1 definitely was a game that was rushed. Let's look at Fallout 76, of course, Anthem. There's a plethora of games that are rushed right now that we have the power of DLC. Developers think like, oh, you know, it's DLC. You know, we could just keep, you know, we'll just come out with a patch. But now, I mean, gamers are revolting. I mean, what the hell? Look what happened to Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I don't know anybody that plays it anymore. I don't even know what's going on with that game anymore. Same thing with Anthem. I have no idea what they're doing. Supposedly BioWare is going to do a massive overhaul like they did with Destiny and what they done with I forget that game by Hello Games. What game am I thinking of?
Oh, Hello Games. Oh my god, I know what you're talking about. No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky, yeah. So what are they doing? So I'm looking at this as a good thing. You know, definitely history. We don't want history to repeat itself, especially for Cyberpunk. This is a new IP for that developer. Of course, they're known for Witcher, and this is a new IP. Of course, this is completely different from Witcher, gameplay style-wise. It's a first person. It's set in the future, but you definitely want to get off to a good foot, right? So I'm actually happy they've pushed this back. I mean, we got to wait all the way to September, but hey. It's better than getting a broken, complete mess of a game, especially when you're coming out with a new IP.
You know, I was okay with Marvel, Avengers, and Cyberpunk being delayed, but I think the one that hurt me the most was Dying Light, because I love Dying Light, and I was super excited to play it again. And no, so man, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, so basically when you think about it, like, a lot of these games, right, are at the very edge of the next gen, and I feel like that has something to do about it. Like, we had a couple reports going on about Cyberpunk, for example, that it wasn't running properly on the current PS4 and the Xbox One. Not the X or the Pro, but there seems like the part of the issue of developing was related to them. And honestly, you know, a game of that scale isn't that surprising. We had examples with Star Wars, right? Star Wars ran pretty decent on the X and then on the Pro. But then we had some like frame pacing issues and some pixelations that were showing off and performance issues. And we're starting to see that a lot more. And I feel like these guys are really reaching the very limit of with these games. And they're trying, they're kind of like, oh, guys, we can do it, but we're not going to get the quality that we're expecting from it. So we need more time developing it. The other thing with Dying Light, I was expecting it, but when they said Windows, like, they didn't give us, like, they said spring window, right? And now they push it back indefinitely. Like, they did say it was going to be on next gen, but that's all there is to it. So, again, I feel like very much the same case. I think all of these developers are at the very grasping this, and they're, like, not knowing what to do, honestly. They're like, hey, we're pushing this game to the limit, but now we're just kind of like, I don't know if we can do this. What do we need to make this work? I feel like some of the issues are related to that. What do you guys think about that?
Dying Light 2, I fully expected it should be next gen, especially now that they delayed it and there's no release window at all. We haven't really seen anything much of it since E3, so I think it's definitely a better move for them to, let's just wait for next gen. Let's get the game ready. Let's rehash the graphics and everything like that. Let's get a good game, especially for next generation. You want to come out the gate hot with Xbox Series X and, of course, PS5. I think it's good. Of course, I do agree with Dan. I was upset. I do want to play it now because I think Dying Light is definitely one of the most underrated games on of course, I can't believe I'm going to be saying this, on soon to be last generation. Definitely one of the most underrated games. If you haven't played it, I definitely would check it out. It is a really, it's like Dead Island, but definitely much better. But Marvel's Avengers, I don't really care for too much. I mean, that game right now, to me, I think is in the mix of it could be good, it could be a failure. Right now, from what I see from reports, some people are very skeptical on the game, so I'm not really, I didn't really care too much that that game was delayed, but, I mean, it's a daring thing to come out the same month as Cyberpunk, which obviously is one of the most anticipated games of this year. One that kind of got swept under the rug we haven't mentioned yet, Final Fantasy. That got delayed, only by a month, but, again, another delay for Final Fantasy. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this game since its announcement, and Barbosa, I know you're one of them. So, what were your thoughts? I know it's, again, just a month, but still.
Yeah, I feel like they need more time. The thing is, like, they're only covering like the first beginning part of the games for a lot of fans. Like, that ends in Midgard, so that portion by the original game, it's decently long, but it's not that big. So they're trying to expanding it, and I seen it in action. The game looks really good, but definitely needed some work on it. So I guess they're just polishing it. You guys remember Final Fantasy 15, right? We have a lot of some people love it, some people hate it, and it's a lot of more hate versus actually love, to be honest. And I feel like Square Enix and like Ubisoft and all these developers are like, we can't bomb rush these titles anymore as much as we're trying to set deadlines, because that's that can hurt our image. And honestly, it's only a month, but, a little bit disappointed, yeah. But then I got a lot of games in March coming out. Like, if you really think about it, right, you got, for me, a JRPG guy, Persona 5 Royal. That's huge in Japan. It's becoming really big here in the U.S. now, too. So there's other March titles coming out. So now that kind of gives you more leeway to play other games, like Nioh 2 and all of that. But definitely, did I expect it? Not really, because it was just such a set date. Like when you have like March 3rd, right? You don't expect somebody to be like, hey guys, we're going to push back. If they said like, Dying Light, right? Spring window or summer window when they have like for a PlayStation, a 4 game and Ghost of Tsushima, you're not like in the back of your head, like, oh, it's definitely going to come that season, because how the gaming market is right now, right? Everybody's like, pushback is like a very common thing. The question that we have to ask ourselves is like, should be companies really setting dates from now on, or maybe windows are better and just go from there once they're ready to announce the release date? Instead, we expect maybe summer or winter window. Here's a sneak peek of our game. Maybe they should give us that instead of dates. I think people are getting very mad at the fact that there are set dates in stone, and now they're trying to reverse that.
No, what they should do is they should be like, expected September 15th, but realistically, it's gonna be December 15th. That's what they should do.
I'm trying to think of this also as a positive. Again, we've had a lot of games that have come out the past couple of years that have been complete and utter disasters because, they've rushed it. Ghost Recon Breakpoint being a more recent one. There's been a lot of AAA titles that have been rushed, and they've been a complete mess. So, again, I'm trying to look at this as a very positive thing. Let's look at this as, again, CD Projekt Red. This is their new IP. So I do agree, push it back. If it's not ready, it's not ready. This is a new IP. You want to get, that you want to kind of distant yourself from Witcher, right? Because everyone looks at CD Projekt Red, and Witcher is the hot thing right now because of the Netflix show. Now they're coming out with an animated movie. More people started playing Witcher 3 shortly after watching the show. So CD Projekt Red, I feel like, let's try to... Let's look at Bethesda, too. They got Fallout, they got Elder Scrolls, two completely different games, right? But they both are RPGs, but they're completely different. They separate themselves from, each other. They're not really compared to each other. So I think it's very smart that CD Projekt Red probably looked, like Barbosa mentioned, like, look, guys, this game is not running good. Let's push it back, and, let's make sure this game runs great again, because I'm not saying that, again, Witcher 3... Witcher 3, quite frankly, is a game that has set the standard for video games. So, I mean, it's definitely a very influential game, but I think that they kind of want to move on from something else right now, and I think they don't want to mess it up, and I think it's a very smart move.
Yeah, there's actually 2 more games that were delayed that aren't on the list. Not like big games or anything, but, the Iron Man VR was delayed. And, one game close to my heart is a DLC. It's technically not a game, but the Ark DLC also got delayed this year. So, a couple things delayed, but I would rather, like Barbosa, you said, I would rather them fix the game, and me being able to enjoy the game a lot more means a lot more to me than playing a broken game like Anthem, for example.
Broken is a very nice word for that game.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like the motto of last year's generation, right?
Yeah, I guess it was pretty nice.
It's let's fix the game later. Like that, literally, that happened in so many games for us in this past generation. I hopefully buy the new one with PS5 and Series X. Let's just fix that a little bit. Let's try to reduce the unfinished games being released. I get that they have deadlines and it's still a business, but man, how many fans got pissed off in this past generation is quite all, more than previous ones.
Yeah, I think at the point we just starting to get used to it. It's become tradition. So as we get through the big delays of 2020, I thought about saying 19, but I stopped myself. I am actually starting a new segment here, and basically, before every 2 weeks, I'm going to be playing a indie game, and I'm going to review it here on the podcast. It's going to be short and sweet. So I took a indie out of Jade Indie's collection, and I actually played Untitled Goose Game, and God, I absolutely loved that game. It is so much fun. It's on Game Pass, so I just downloaded it. It's hilarious. The graphics aren't nothing to die for, but it's really unique with an awesome concept. You get to run around as a goose, and you have to solve these puzzles. And I just love fucking with the people, man. I would just grab anything in sight that he needed and run away and just and I used to just throw it in the lake so he would have to go get it. And I had so much fun with that game, and I really do recommend that game to anybody who likes just playing some fun, hilarious indie games. I mean, Alex, have you actually played it, or you're not big into the indie life?
No, I like indie games. I haven't played it yet. I'm waiting. It's going to be releasing console soon, right? I'm waiting for that.
It's already on console.
Oh, it is? All right.
Yeah, it's on Xbox Game Pass.
Then I'm definitely downloading it. I appreciate you telling me that.
I definitely recommend it. Jay introduced it to us, and I'm glad she did. And I don't know what indie game I'm going to be playing for the next podcast, but definitely will be something. So the next thing we're going to be talking about is probably one of the our main topics, and that is PlayStation. And we're going to jump into the Spider-Man leak. Spider-Man leak. What's going on with that, Pat?
So what I came across this yesterday on I got it from What Culture Gaming, and it came through Reddit as well. So there has been some rumors about it. If it is true, it does make sense due to the fact that it is been a 3-year window since we got the first Spider-Man game. So it was apparent insider leak originating on Reddit, allegedly undiscovered details about the in-production product. So a couple of the mainstays that we've looked at, one of the things I saw, they're going to be adding Queens. That's one of the areas that they're going to be adding in the new Spider-Man game. Also, the rumored villains, of course. Spoiler alert here, going forward. One of the big villain rumors, of course, is the Harry Osborn Venom, which was teased at the end of Spider-Man 1. And then, of course, Green Goblin, Carnage, the Lizard, Mysterio, and Cardiac.
And for those listeners that haven't played the game, spoiler alert, please.
Yeah. So the one interesting thing is Cardiac. So I've never heard of Cardiac, and I'm assuming that they're doing this route again like they did with the first game with Mr. Negative, where they were introducing a new character. So that's who I'm grasping out of this character, Cardiac. Again, this is a supposed leak. 2021 is the rumor release date, which makes sense because Spider-Man came out in 2018, so it is a good window. And if the rumors are true, to me, like I've always said it, I've said it on the podcast, I feel that Spider-Man is probably the best PlayStation 4 game I played. I know some people stand by God of War, but as far as exclusives go, man, just Spider-Man, I was really into that game, and I did everything in that game. And like I said, I feel that is probably one of the best, PlayStation 4 exclusives, and I can't wait to see what Insomniac is going to go forward with Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, I actually haven't played Spider-Man because I don't have a PlayStation, but eventually I'll play it. I know a lot of the PlayStation exclusives are eventually going to hit console. Hit PC, so I'll wait until then, or I'll play it on next gen.
Another big rumor too is that Miles Morales is going to have an expanded role as well. In the DLC, he was shown training off stream with Peter, and it says that it could be setting him up to be a playable character and have different powers from Peter as well. So that's also a rumor. And so Uncharted, to answer Jade's question really quick, Uncharted 4 is an amazing game. But if I'm picking just the generation alone, I'm going to say Spider-Man. But if I'm going to say as a whole, Uncharted 2 is definitely up there for me. But comparing Uncharted 4 and Spider-Man, I give the edge to Spider-Man.
Alex, you played Spider-Man?
Oh yeah, I was letting you guys finish up, but yeah, I definitely did. Loved it. It was definitely one of my favorite games of PS4. I wouldn't say it's the best one, but it's definitely up there. I'm one of those. Hopefully it's true, because there's a lot of rumors going on about release, especially with the event that's supposedly going to be in February coming up. I feel like another rumor that's going on is that they're going to announce Horizon Zero Dawn 2 as well. But then there's a rumor about Killzone. It's really the amount of rumors that are penting up right now for PlayStation is off the charts. The amount of first party games and everything. I honestly just can't wait for them to announce this event so we can all see what's happening, because it's the hype keeps building up and you're trying to wonder what's going to go, what's going to really go down. Maybe Spider-Man is on the, getting announced, but is it going to be announced right now or is it going to be announced later on? You get me? Since it's a 2021 game, there's all these variables we got to take into account. And I'm kind of it's exciting because you want to know which launch games are going to come out versus what's going to come out probably in the first wave. How they announced Infamous Second Son? It was kind of hey, it's going to come out this window for spring of next year or 6 months. I wonder if they're going to do the same format, comes back down for release dates and whether the games are going to be ready or not.
Yeah, I would definitely hold off on the PlayStation preview, the PlayStation conference that's coming up next month. That's going to be our main topic. So definitely hold off on some thoughts on that, Barbosa. Tuck them inside really quick, and then
I got some thoughts on that too, which can't wait to get into that a little later.
Yeah.
So the next up, we're going to be talking a little bit about Splinter Cell Creative Director. Comes back after 8 months. Wow, all right, that's some surprising news. I know Barbosa was kind of talking about this. No Show Barbosa was kind of talking about. You want to dive into this a little bit, Barbosa, and let us know what's happening.
Yeah, so basically he's been gone for a little while, and then he's been back after 8 months, and so now people are speculating whether Splinter Cell is going to be made or not. I mean, Pat, you can agree with me with this. They've been talking about a Splinter Cell game for quite a while. Less Splinter Cell content was on Ghost Recon Wildlands. For the people that played, it was pretty decent what it was, and Sam Fisher was in the game. But I'm sure everybody that's a fan of the series and it likes Ubisoft games, it's time for a Splinter Cell game to come out. They basically skipped a whole generation other than showing up as a cameo on another game. So I wonder how they're going to play this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Splinter Cell Blacklist was actually a pretty good game. I know they changed the voice actor, but Blacklist was actually a really good game. I enjoyed it. And yeah, definitely skipping a whole... I mean, there was a lot of E3s I sat through for a Ubisoft conference, and I think Dan and I were talking about, I don't know if it was a year or two ago, and at the end I was like solely disappointed because I thought that's what they're saving their big announcement for, was, oh, here's a big announcement. You would think like, oh my goodness, it's Splinter Cell, but yeah, they haven't, they've just been kind of little teasers here and there, like, oh, I think one of the developers tweeted out like, oh yeah, we're working on the new Splinter Cell, don't worry. And then, the creative director has come back after 8 months. And, the Wildlands things were pretty cool. I actually really liked Wildlands, just to go off topic, just for a quick second. Wildlands had some good DLC. That was one of them. A lot of good crossovers. It did it with Rainbow Six Siege, too, as well. But, yeah, I'm really hoping that this generation, Sam Fisher makes his long-awaited return. And I'm very excited for it because the series took a really good direction. It kind of took that Assassin's Creed approach where you don't need to be stealth as much anymore. But, I mean, it's more recommended to play the game through stealth. So, yeah, definitely very excited. And it's definitely a Ubisoft IP that I think a lot of players miss and want back.
Yeah, man, I would love to see a Splinter Cell again, man. It's been so long since I played a Splinter Cell game. They're probably one of my favorite stealthy games growing up. Playing it on PlayStation and whatnot. And I had such a blast. So if we do end up seeing another Splinter Cell, I will be so happy. And we are definitely going to get into the Xbox stuff soon, but that's going to be a little later, John. But yeah, Splinter Cell, awesome. Cannot wait for Splinter Cell. And I guess we can jump into the PS Now while we get an upgrade.
So that's actually part of the PlayStation event preview.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about the PlayStation event because I'm actually excited about it because, there are speculations that they are going to show the next PlayStation there, and that'd be really awesome. I mean, before we jump into the other topics of the PlayStation event, do you guys think we're going to see the PlayStation 5 unrevealed?
I 100% guarantee I think we will see the PlayStation 5 after Xbox showing up at the Game Awards, showing Series X, PlayStation announcing they're not going to be at E3 again this year. I 100% think that we will see the PS5 reveal at the event preview.
Yeah, because I know that's I can see them definitely taking the same route as Microsoft did. As they showed a console, but they didn't get too much into the console as far as spec-wise and some feature-wise. I think they're going to pull the same thing because, specs are still not 100% confirmed on what's exactly going to be in there. So, I mean, I would love to see this design of the PlayStation 5. I want to get hyped. I mean, I am really looking forward to it. Barbosa, do you have any thoughts on what is going to happen with this?
Definitely going to happen. They're definitely going to show the system. I think Mark Cerny is going to delve it. They had a very similar event And for New York, when PlayStation 4 got announced, they didn't give us a price or anything like that. But they did show the system and then demoed it a little bit. Remember, they even showed Knack at that time, and because of the particle effects. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah,
that was a
freaking game, Knack. That's a terrible game.
Yep.
But yeah, they're definitely going to show the system. The thing that's bothering my mind, I can't think about it. Right, so they confirmed they're not going to be on E3, and so. You have this big event that's going to show the system and probably a couple games. Now, I ask you this, guys. Where is going to be the proper venue, since State of Play, I don't agree that State of Play will be one, to announce a release date or a price? Do they do it early now in February, or they wait longer? You do get me? Like, it's very interesting in the position they are.
Yeah, no,
this is a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be weird. I think maybe... Man, because obviously I think E3, that's when Microsoft will probably announce price points, specs, and everything like that. But yeah, no Sony. You would think maybe this year, this would be the year Sony was like, okay, we're making our return. They're like, no, we're just going to continue doing the small events that we had been doing. So maybe around E3, maybe not obviously that week, maybe... They'll have an event maybe a week before, a couple weeks after. I would think around that time frame, Sony will have a State of Play or something like that where they announce price points, they announce specs, and everything like that. But yeah, they are in a very, very interesting position, what they can do here.
Yeah, I'm really curious because, we're going to talk about the price projection soon. Because I actually have some thoughts on it, and I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think about it. But before we jump into that, have you guys seen the unofficial the DualShock 5 controller concepts? That shit is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it makes it seems like it's a little bit thicker, nothing too intense, but there's two patents that are out right now, and one of them seems like they have like small paddles in the back, so it seems like they might just come with it already.
Yeah, and I think that would be cool. It's like the Xbox Elite controller type of deal, but with just only 2 instead of 4 buttons. I mean, that'd be really cool. I'll be really glad to see that come to PlayStation because I know now they have the attachment for the PlayStation 4 controllers for the DualShock buttons in the back. So that's actually really cool. I'm actually excited.
I've always been a fan of the DualShock. I mean, going back to the PlayStation 3 with that horrendous 6-axis controller, thank God they released the DualShock 3. The DualShock has always been a great controller. I've never had any qualms about it. The DualShock 2 is my favorite out of all of them, but DualShock 4 was amazing, and I can't wait to try out the DualShock 5 when that launches with PS5.
Yeah, me too, man. And this is where we're going to jump into the price projections. So the rumors are apparently that the PlayStation 5 is going to cost more than the Xbox. From what I read, of course, rumors, I just want to say that one more time, is that the PlayStation 5 is going to be $600 while the Xbox will be $500. I mean, where do you guys think this price is going to land on the table?
So let's take a look back at history here. With PlayStation 3, again, for example, they announced this was like the one time that Sony was releasing 2 consoles at the same time. You had the PS3, the 60 gigabyte console, which was $600. Then you had the 20 gigabyte console, which was $500. Essentially, the reason why that price point was that high is because basically a PlayStation 2 was in the console as well. So I always think anything above $500 is a huge mistake. Now, Sony, again, made that mistake many, many years ago by price pointing their console at $599. And they made a amazing choice by pricing their PlayStation 4 at $399. Now, there's always the rumors, the same thing with Xbox, that they're going to release 2 consoles. One is going to be the more powerful. The other one's going to be for more of the, the casual gamers that don't really care about power. So if I'm going to go on the limb and say what my price point's going to be, I'd say they're going to be the same price. I think the more powerful Sony console at most will be $550. But if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say it's going to be $499, and then I think they're going to release a console that's more affordable, again, for people that don't really care about power all that much, $399.
Oh, all right. Well, that's understandable. So I'm trying to think about it in the aspects of what we know so far. I mean, as far as the PlayStation 5 specs go that are out there, same with the Xbox specs are out there right now. They are very, very, very similar as far as components, speed, graphics are very similar in that. So I couldn't imagine them being higher prices than each other. I would have to think they're going to be the same price at $500. I think that Microsoft at this point has learned its lesson about making consoles so much more expensive than PlayStation. I think they're gonna actually try to
the VCR
be a competitor.
The VCR that they released.
VCR.
The Xbox One, the big gigantic VCR.
Yeah, I think it was huge.
I mean, pricing is going to be really interesting because we also got to take into account, there's a lot of dealings happening with China and the tariffs, so that might affect our price points in the systems. But I think the highest price point is $550. I totally agree with for Rage Quit, it's $550 is the highest, but the minimum would be $400 if some with the Xbox Series S, or $300 depending how what kind of components are in there. But I think both systems are going to be ranged out around $500. If there is going to be a $600 system, it will be a higher tier on memory. If they want to start with that, that's possible and a little bit intense, but that's for hardcore. If you have 2 terabytes of SSD, guys like me and Dan we might do it because we want that extra memory and not do the hassle of adding additional memory.
Big facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. You. I mean, you look at it now. We're in a generation now where companies now could release 2 consoles, right? We look back then. We only had one console. We look. There was only one PlayStation 4. There was only one Xbox One. Before that, there was two Xbox 360s, but it just compared. It wasn't even what the difference was more memory. It wasn't power. So now we're in a generation where these companies could release 2 consoles depending on the power you want. So I like that we have that choice now. Whether before it was this one you get 60 gigs of memory, and this one you only get 20. This one you get no memory. This one you get 120 gigs of memory. So I like the idea because not everybody is a hardcore gamer and wants that power. I mean, this isn't taking a shot at the people who only play Fortnite, but you really think that people are going to want to spend $500 on a brand new console to continue playing Fortnite? You know what I'm saying? So I think they need to be smart about it this time, and I think anything above $550 is, I think you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's a very dangerous route. But we got to think about this too, right? Microsoft has the money and the means to take even a deeper loss on the Series X. That's always in the back of my mind, right? They can sell the system even at a lower price because they can take the hit. In the general scope of things, companies make more money out of software versus actually hardware. Hardware is just, the person that creates attachment, right? So they actually make more of their money out of software. So if you can get, a lineup that's crazy, and then somehow they, PS5 is $500 and they sell the Series X, which is the equivalent of it, for $450, guys, this will be a repeat of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in the beginning.
And also the thing is too, you know how we always have those, and we're going to talk about launch titles in a second, but you know how we always had that norm of launch titles are always the this is what sells the system. I don't think so anymore, because when you look at PlayStation 4, they didn't really have a launch title. Their launch lineup was horrible. They didn't really have anything that was oh my god, this is why I'm buying the PlayStation 4. I know we have Halo coming out for Series X at launch, but I think that's dead. I think the whole this is what is going to sell the console. You know what I'm saying? The Switch first came out, it only really had Zelda. That was it. It didn't really have
pretty much.
Yeah, it really didn't have anything else. And now, the big rumor is for PlayStation is that they're going to have an exclusive that's going to be a good launch, but who knows?
Yeah, man. Might as well just jump into it, man. What games are you expecting to see, or would you like to see become a launch title game for the PlayStation 5? Patrick or Barbosa can take this one away.
Well, for me, it definitely launch title is a tough thing because I want to hope and dream that maybe Horizon or another game like Spider-Man will be announced right off the bat, but it's not going to happen. My lowest expectation for it is I know I have in my heart that it's going to happen again. It's going to be Killzone again, without a second. But there is one game I'm excited, which has been on rumor for quite a while. It's the remake of Demon's Souls. So that's going to be off the charts. Bluepoint supposedly is working on it. Bluepoint is very known for all the remakes. And if Demon's Souls comes out, they already have all my money and more.
I apologize. I had to mute my mic for a second. Are we on launch titles? I apologize.
We are.
All right.
What are you thinking?
So the one rumor that keeps intensifying of a launch title for the PlayStation 5 is Horizon Zero Dawn 2. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of that, but that rumor seems to be really intensifying that's going to be the main launch title for PlayStation 5. Now, a lot of great things about Horizon Zero Dawn, a really great game, so I think that would be very good for them to have that at launch. But again, I kind of stand by, I just don't think launch titles sell a console anymore at this point. And it's kind of unfortunate, right? Like, again, I go back to Xbox as opposed to PlayStation 4. Xbox One, in my opinion, had a better launch lineup than PlayStation 4. Why did PlayStation 4 sell better? Because they were smarter. Xbox had to backtrack on all the mess that they decided to create before they launched. PlayStation 4 was $100 cheaper. It didn't come with a useless peripheral like the Kinect. So, really, and then what games were you picking up for PS4? Killzone, which was average, and Knack, which was horrible. So, I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, is a great start for PS5. I think that would be great for them. But again, to me, it all comes down to price point. I do agree with Alex. I would not be surprised if we see another Killzone, because that seems to be the trend with PlayStation at launch, is that they love to release another Killzone. So,
yeah, another rumored game was supposed to be Gran Turismo 7.
Yes, I saw that one too as well.
And a game that is confirmed is Godfall will be a launch title.
Yeah, gameplay looks pretty solid on it. We'll see how it is. I hope there's an alpha or a beta so we can try it out before it releases. That'll be good.
Yeah, it doesn't look that bad at all. So, hopefully when the event does come, they at least give us one or two titles that are going to be launching with it. But the thing is, let's not get our hopes up, because who the hell knows what's going to happen.
I can tell you one thing that's going to happen for sure. There are like a couple of rumors, and all they coincide with the same thing, right? They're going to make God of War, Spider-Man 1, Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, and I don't know what other titles. There are first-party PlayStation 4 games, all like PS5 versions with enhancements, full-blown 4K and everything. Definitely. So you guys can bet any money that will happen on day one for launch. They might not sell it for $60, but they're going to be at least 40.
I wouldn't say day one, because they announced that backwards compatibility is confirmed. I wouldn't be surprised if they went the route like The Last of Us, like Spider-Man 1, remastered, and they sell it for maybe $30 with full DLC. Like they did the Arkham series, God of War, maybe they'll do something like that. I mean, which I would think would be amazing if they, always the big trend of remasters is maybe a God of War trilogy remaster. I mean, that would be amazing.
Well,
of course maybe EA will wake up and we'll get maybe a Mass Effect trilogy remaster, Hopefully they'll continue the trend of making good remasters, because this generation has shown that they've made some really good remastered games. And even with like the upscale, like Last of Us, I never played on PS3. I got rid of it at the time, and then I picked it up on PlayStation 4, and I was like blown away by how good this game is. So I could see them doing something like that.
Well, I don't think that they actually confirmed backwards compatibility. They did with the 4, but I don't think they did 3 to 2
Yeah,
or 1, though.
not yet. That's just a floating rumor. And remember, there was a statement about like maybe 2 weeks ago that was like not all PS4 games might not work right off the bat from the beginning. You get me? It's like very on the ear until we get concrete information on it. It's just like hoping. But you know, like the first party titles, they are definitely gonna like remaster them for the PS5. It's just like it's a safe bet. You know, I agree with Pat. Like I don't think it might be all of them yet, but maybe 1 or 2 are gonna be on the launch, and then maybe another 2, you know, in 4 or 5 months.
Hopefully, with today's technology, they can go back with with emulation and everything like that. Hopefully, they can go back and get, because there are some PS2 games that are digital that do work on PS4, and then of course Xbox. You know, we see their backwards compatible lineup compared to Sony's. I think that is where they missed the mark, is backwards compatibility. There's no PS3 games that work on PS4. There, like I said, there's maybe a handful that are PS2 that work on PlayStation 4, but they're digital, right? So we look, it's like GTA 3, San Andreas, it's like very Rockstar heavy, and then there's like maybe a couple random games here and there. As you look at Xbox One, there is a laundry list of Xbox 360 games that work on Xbox One, and there's a good list as well of original Xbox games that work on Xbox One as well. So I think Sony, with their new console, and we've seen how important backwards compatibility is to the market, I think they would be smart, and then we're also going to talk about PlayStation Now. I think they would be smart to get on it. And, you know, again, we're at that time where there's emulation everywhere. People emulate even on, like, the worst computer. They could play a PlayStation 1 game on there. Like, come on now. You mean to tell me that they don't have the technology to
I agree.
emulate?
It's going to be a defining factor, honestly, to be honest. If they can't pull it up, it's going to ruin them.
Yeah, like, you mean to tell me you can't emulate a PlayStation 1 or a PS2 game on a new console, but I could get a $200 computer and I could emulate a PlayStation 1 game on that? Like, come on.
Well, I mean, emulating on a PC and a console are very different things on how they work. But, I mean, at least, you know, I think that we will probably see a lot more backwards compatibility with PlayStation. I know that, you know, Xbox out of the box will have that, and it will have that. The Series X will be compatible with all titles for Xbox One. So I think that's a really cool idea, and I'm assuming that Sony will do the same exact thing. I'm hoping at least, and I think they're going to get better, which is going to take us into PlayStation Now, because I know from what I heard, I don't have PlayStation Now. I only have the ear from what people tell me, is that it doesn't really offer that much as far as games, like old games, you know, the classics. Do you guys have it? Can you guys elaborate a little bit more on what we could see on the PlayStation Now and the new upgrades that might be coming?
So the first step they took, that I'm sure Barbosa can agree as well, the first step they took to kind of fix it was they dropped the price from $20 to $10 a month. Now, asking for $20 a month for, you know, again, some of the games, they do have their exclusive games, but the big difference between PlayStation Now and Game Pass is that Game Pass is day one, you get your Xbox exclusive. You don't have to wait several months to get an Xbox exclusive on Game Pass. So that's already one. You're also paying, if you are paying $5 more, but you're also getting Xbox Gold, and you're also getting Xbox Windows as well. So the $5 difference is more worth it than paying $10 a month. You don't get PlayStation Plus. You don't get PlayStation exclusives at launch. I mean, that's the only really benefactor, is that it's $10 a month. But I mean, if you've never played the exclusives, if it's kind of like on your backlog, then I would say PlayStation Now is worth it. I think in PlayStation 5, I don't know if it's because Sony releases more exclusives than Xbox does that they don't want to do it, but I think they should, to compete. So I think that would be the smart thing for them to do, is now release day one. And now MLB The Show is not even exclusive anymore, so there goes that. So I think now, and I mean, realistically, Sony pumps out from what I usually play, I want to say, Barb, you could correct me if I'm wrong, like 5 exclusives. That and then maybe they could charge the same thing. Maybe they could bump it up to 15, and they give, you get PlayStation Now and you get PlayStation Plus, you get the exclusives at launch. I think it would be better to compete in that sense. I think it needs a lot of upgrades.
I think they're going to talk about restructure. Probably, I don't know if it's going to get announced on this event, to be honest, because there's so much information being released. But I definitely believe that they're going to restructure PlayStation Now. There's no way they can continue this. It's, Jay Prince has put on our chat, right, about gaming as a service. It's selling now. This is the future, right? We're with streaming services for video and everything. Service is becoming the next step for, we can buy products, and we still do no matter what, right, guys? Mm-hmm. But service is the next step. They have to improve on it. There's no way they can maintain the same PlayStation Now, with the way the market is moving. At least that's my personal opinion. I think you guys agree somewhat with me. They need to, exclusives right off the bat. Or maybe not yet, maybe after a month if they can't do it. There's a lot of variables that we don't understand why they're not doing it. So that's the other factors we got to take into account. But there's definitely need change on PlayStation Now. But I definitely believe that that's one of their focuses, because whoever gets the gaming streaming right? Stadia was okay.
No,
it's best.
I think,
it's best. Nice. It was okay.
You're being very nice. I don't think it was okay.
But honestly, I think the sweet spot is where Stadia stays and where Game Pass does. Right? It's up to I believe they should be up to the user whether they want to stream the game or they want to install it in their hard drive and play it that way. I think that's, you get me? Like, that's how it should be, but I don't think it's going to happen for years, honestly, to be effective enough.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think PlayStation Now needs look at what Game Pass has done to change the market with releasing, their exclusives day one, and then the past E3 they announced Game Pass Ultimate, which you don't even have to buy Xbox Gold anymore. You don't have to go out there and buy a subscription card. You get all that by just paying $15 a month. I mean, it's really changing, and digital downloads has grown rapidly with this generation. So, of course, there's still going to be those people who buy the hard copies and things like that. But I think PlayStation needs to kind of overhaul the PlayStation Now in a big way to keep up with Game Pass, because Game Pass is miles, and I mean miles. It's not even like a step ahead of PlayStation Now. It is miles ahead of PlayStation. But the thing
with PlayStation Pass, though, is that came out way before Xbox Game Pass did.
It did. It was.
So I would have assumed that they would have had their long foot in that door already, and bringing some great console titles.
The biggest problem was, and if I remember correctly, the games did not run very good at first. And it was $20 a month. They were asking people for $20. I mean, you really.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that.
To play old games, to play old games, you're not getting any of the new content right away. I think that's what intrigues me about Game Pass, and I'm sure it intrigues a lot of other consumers, is that I don't have to pay $60 for Gears. I'm getting it, boom, 12 o'clock midnight, and that's also great about Game Pass. You get it at midnight. You don't have to wait till the next day. So
yeah, I do like that though.
That has been the and then also let's look at Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds is not even an exclusive, and it's on Game Pass. It's a multi-platform game, and if you only have PlayStation, well, you're crapped out of luck. You got to pay $60. I got it. I got Game Pass.
Yeah, it's. I think it's good, man. I think at that point, I don't know how profits work within that, but I really think it's a cool way for developers to get involved. And I take my hat off to them, because I don't know if they lose money on that, but that's a really awesome thing. I really liked it a lot. So basically, we talked about a lot. So the one last thing we're going to talk about for the PlayStation is the launch date. you know, what would be pretty cool is if PlayStation and Xbox released the console on the same exact day. Which one would you choose? No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't make you choose. So when do you guys think it's going to land? I'm kind of feeling around November.
If I'm remembering my history again, I think it was, were they a week or two apart, the Xbox One and the PS4?
I don't even know if it was a week or was a couple of days apart, actually.
Because I remember the PS4 launched first. I remember that. And then I remember the Xbox One came out shortly after. But I don't remember if they were just a week or two apart. That's where I'm drawing a blank. But that I'm going to agree with Dan. I'm going to say around November, mid-November.
It was a week apart, yeah. Exactly a week apart. So PlayStation came out on November 15, and then the Xbox One came out on November 22nd.
I would like to see them come out on the same day. That'd be freaking funny as hell. So yeah, a week apart they were, and I mean, I think I got both of them at that time because I got both of them.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know where I always find the money for that shit, but it's a miracle. You guys have anything else to add to the PlayStation life?
I mean, I'm really excited. I mean, besides that, I'm really excited. I mean, we're about to enter next generation. Entering next gen is always exciting, right? Because we're going to get some new graphics, new power. Getting new technology is always really exciting. So I'm really excited to see what Sony, if they can keep up the momentum from the PlayStation 4. And I'm also really excited to see if Xbox rebounds from their disastrous launch of the Xbox One. So very excited. I hope both companies come out the gate hot. And, you know, hopefully everything works, because I remember Xbox One, when I first got it, the party chat was a mess, and I had a useless Kinect. So, you know, hopefully both.
The Kinect.
Yeah, hopefully both systems launch very well. I want good exclusives for PlayStation. You know, I am gonna get both. I don't want another freaking knack. I don't want knack 3. I don't want any other random VR game at launch that I'm not gonna play. You know, I want a heavy hitter. So we already know that we're getting a heavy hitter with Halo Infinite with Xbox. I want a heavy hitter for PlayStation. So definitely looking forward to that. Yes, Jade, there was a knack 2 for some insane reason.
I do want a heavy hitter for Xbox as well. So yeah, man, I can't wait for that life. But there's before we end this, there's one last thing to talk about. And we can't skip this because that would just be rude. And that is the Xbox Series X Prototype leak that came out. And I gotta say, from just from looking at those pictures, whoever.
My condolences for the guy that leaked it, because he left the serial code up.
Yeah, he did, and that could be tracked in 2 seconds. And why is that shit so dirty, man? Why don't you clean that up? Leaving it all dirty like that. That's crazy. Anyways. It's actually a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be, which is actually surprising. And basically, everyone is wondering what the hell that port is on the back. And before we get to that port, there's one thing I got to say. Why the hell did you take out that HDMI in? Why? I love that port. And now it's not an all-in-one console because now you can't connect a cable box to it. That's outrageous. But yeah, do you guys use that port at all?
No,
not at all.
No, I don't use that port. So that doesn't. I tried to when I was doing the TV, because I remember our good friend Diego was using it to watch his TV on his Xbox, but I could never figure it out. So I just said screw it, and I didn't worry about it ever since.
Yeah, I use it a lot. So as you guys know, prototypes might not be the final, but from what we saw in the picture, it had optical 2 Type A ports, an Ethernet port, a power port, and an HDMI port, and a very interesting, weird, long port, which nobody really knows, but people are trying to guess. I heard people say it's a key to open the console to do an upgrade. I'm like, well, you're dumb. And then Barbosa and I talked about it, and we think it's an NVMe SSD chip slot. which would be freaking awesome because Barbosa and I, we love our storage and fast storage. Barbosa, do you still think it is what you think it is?
Well, yeah, there is one, like, so nobody knows what's happening, but there is a talk that it might be a diagnostic input, but I highly doubt it that it is. Because if it is an MVE slot, I just take my money. I'm gonna put another terabyte at least in there just to be like.
Yeah, I found a terabyte for $130 for that.
It's gonna change the game in terms of speed. The external is decently fast, like me and you were talking yesterday, but man, MVE speeds for your external memory, it's like just going to add in total as, your total storage. It's not separated into or anything like that. It's just amazing. At least that's my opinion.
I really hope it is a NVMe slot. I really do. And of course, we don't exactly know yet until we find out from Microsoft themselves. But what else could it be? I mean, it's kind of the same size as a chip. So I'm really super excited to hear more about that. Probably won't hear anything until E3. And finally, please put to rest what ports this console has, because we all need to know what ports this thing is actually going to have. Because I think two Type A ports is clearly not enough. And I think you get one in the front too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you do. Honestly, I got shocked when AMD showing the CES and they were like USB-C ports, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I would. That would be awesome, right? So yeah, man, I can't wait to hear more about that. Pat, did you have any thoughts about the prototype from what you saw?
I let you guys do the tech stuff about it, but I mean, it looks good. I like the console's design. I always say it looks like an Alexa, so I have nothing against how the design looks. I mean, definitely as long as it doesn't look like that VCR as the original Xbox One, I'm good with it. We don't need a freaking heavy VCR console anymore. So I do like the design, so I'm very, very excited for it.
Yeah. So am I. I absolutely cannot wait.
And I just want to see what the controller is going to look like, because that, the Xbox, in my opinion, has always had the better controllers. Xbox 360, in my opinion, is the best controller of all time in any controller. So I'm really anticipating what the next Xbox controller is going to look like.
I think it would be somewhat very similar to the one that we have now, the X. It would be really cool for them to kind of make a standard Elite type of controller. So I mean that would be pretty cool. I know the Elite 2 just came out, which I really need to pick up. But Barbosa, do you have any thoughts on the controller that we might be getting, or any ideas on what you would like to see?
Well, they kind of showed it, and the controller, there's a couple differences. They unify the top of it, so if you look at the top, it doesn't have that inside, like the way it dented in. So it's like 4 flat. And they finally, of course, added the share button, which was awesome. But otherwise, I think the controller is pretty much the same. I hope they upgrade. My biggest pet peeve with the controllers for Xbox, other than Elite, which I have, it's the shoulders. Man, the triggers are perfect, but the shoulders, I come across a lot of it from friends and everybody that I know, that if you play games like Dark Souls or Sekiro or anything like that, man, those shoulders go quick.
Oh yeah. I don't know, man. The Elite controller I have now is the back started peeling off the rubber part, and then when I game a little too hard, my fucking buttons pop off, which is kind of upsetting. But I guess it is what it is at this point. But we're gonna actually close out the podcast for tonight, guys. And before we go, we gotta do some stuff, So we are having a Call of Duty Modern Warfare tournament, and it's gonna be in March. Yes, it will be prized as well, and yes, it is free entry, so you can definitely check out all that information. I have it straight up on our Facebook, on our Twitter. You can check it out on innermodspacement.com. We want you there. It is actually almost filled, so grab those spots now. And then, of course, one more time, we got to give it to our beautiful, lovely sponsors, blackinkgames.com. We love them. Awesome people. We got to talk to them quite a few times, and we would love to have them on a show at one point. And of course, you could buy a whole bunch of games on there, consoles, retro games, a whole bunch of stuff. So definitely check them out with our promo code BASEMENT to save some of that cha-ching. And as we are leaving, you guys know where to find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at In Our Mom's Basement, all podcast platforms such as Spotify, Pandora, crap, I just threw a blank, iTunes, and Google Music at In Our Mom's Basement, and a whole bunch of other places too. And of course, on InOurMom'sBasement.com, I am Dan Joffrey, about to sign off. Sorry, Dan, a pizza man, signing off with my big buddy of mine, Rage Quit Pat, and No Show Barbosa. See you later, guys.
Later.
Later. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
You've just listened to the In Our Mom's Basement, a video game podcast with your hosts Dan Giofue and Rage Quit Pat. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or Google Play. See you in the next episode.